Hi, third grade. So we are on Module 8, Lesson 4. Now this lesson is a pretty big lesson. It's got a lot of moving parts to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to split it up into 2 videos because I'm afraid if we try to do it all in one video, it's just going to be super long and super overwhelming, and I don't want to do that to you. I want you to be able to take a break. So we're going to do just the lesson part for the first video, and then the second video will be the on your own part, okay? So we're just going to, actually we might do a couple of the on your owns, and then, because there's a lot of 2-step problems in here, and I don't want to overwhelm you. So we're going to break this up into 2 separate videos, just so you know, so that way you can watch the first video, do the work with me, and then come back to the second video. Again, it'll be like the on your own part, so you could do that independently and then come back and check your answers, and then you'll do the independent work, the black and white worksheet separately on your own. But I don't want to overwhelm you, so we're going to break this video up, or this lesson up, into 2 separate videos. Okay? So we're starting on page 225, and we are Module 8. Lesson 4, I don't know if you can see that. So again, we're on page 225, and it's solve 2-step problems. So when you are done, you're going to be able to write equations using the 4 operations with an unknown to solve 2-step problems. Now I want to back up just 1 second before we jump right in, and I want to talk about what are the 4 operations, okay? So when they're talking about using an equation, or doing an equation with the 4 different operations, the 4 operations are addition, so that is plus, right? Subtraction, which is minus. Multiplication, which is our times. And division. And there's our division symbol, right? So those are the 4 different operations that you'll be using to solve the problems. Now you might use all 4 in one problem, you might only use 2 in one problem, you might only use 3, but you're going to have to decipher, you're going to have to figure out what part of the problem do I need to do first, right? Because this is going to be a 2-step problem. So that means I'm going to have to solve I'm going to have to solve 2 different things before I get to my answer. The first answer, or the first problem I solve, is not going to be my answer. I'm going to have to do something else. And I'm going to do it in a combination of using the 4 different operations to help me solve these 2-step problems. Okay? And we're going to be using a bar graph, right? We're going to be using a bar model to help us solve. And I think we have been using bar models all along. I think you have been. So we should be able to, that should help you, create this picture to figure out what is the information I'm trying to get to. Okay? So, Mr. Cole paints airplanes. He has 6 gallons of paint in a sprayer. He also has 7 equal-sized buckets of paint. The total amount of paint he has is 41 gallons. How much paint is in each bucket? So look at the information in the problem and plan steps to solve. So we need to figure out what do we really need to know? What are we wanting to know? We want to know how much paint is in each bucket. We are given that there is in the sprayer, and that there are 7 buckets of equal amounts of paint, and there are 41 total gallons. That's with the 6 gallons in the sprayer and the 7 buckets that have an equal amount of paint. So that's the information we know. We have 6 gallons in a sprayer, 7 equal-sized buckets, and 41 total gallons of paint. So we're going to complete this bar model to show how many gallons of paint Mr. Cole has, and we need to use P for our unknown number. Well, we know, how many total gallons does he have? He has 41 total gallons. So we can fill that part in, right? We know he has 6 gallons in a sprayer. What we don't know is how much he has in these 7 buckets. We know in here are 7 equal-sized buckets inside this section, right? But we don't know how much is in, we don't know how much is in those 7 buckets, okay? So we don't know the total inside all the buckets together, and then we also don't know how much is individually inside each bucket. So our first step is to figure out, well, how much is total in the buckets, right? So how could we use an equation to find the amount of paint in all of the buckets? So if I know there are 41 total gallons, and there are 6 gallons in the sprayer, what could we do? Could we add, subtract, multiply, or divide? What do you think we need to do? Well, if we already know the total, we're definitely not going to add or multiply for this part of our problem, for this first step. I know the total is 41 and I know some in the sprayer, so I'm going to need to subtract. So we're going to use a subtraction equation to find the amount of paint in all the buckets. So first we have to figure out how much paint is just in all of the buckets. So we're going to take the total amount of paint, which is 41 gallons, and we're going to subtract the amount in the sprayer. So we can see we're going to put the total amount of paint, and we're going to do the total amount in the sprayer. We're going to subtract those two numbers to figure out how much is total in the buckets. Okay? So I have 41 minus 6. So I'm going to come over here and do my subtraction because I'm going to have to do some regrouping. And I don't want to try to do it over here. It'll be a little messy for me. So I know I can't do 1 minus 6, so I've got to do some regrouping. I've got to come over to my 4, and I've got to regroup that to a 3, which makes my 1 in the ones place an 11, because I'm regrouping a group of 10 from here, and I'm bringing it over here to give to my ones. So now I can subtract 11 minus 6. 11 minus 6 equals 5. And then 3 minus nothing is obviously 3. Whoops, sorry. That 3 is kind of messy. So all together in the buckets of paint, we have 35 gallons. Right? We have to use our label. Gallons is our label, right? We can see our gallons right here. So that's how much is in the buckets all together, if we have the buckets all together. But what are we trying to solve? We want to know how much paint is in each bucket. So let's see what the second step of our problem is. So now what numbers do we know? Okay, we know that, we know that there are 7 equal-sized buckets. And we know that there are 35 gallons in those buckets. Right? Those are the 2 pieces of information that we have that we haven't done anything with that we're going to need to figure out this problem. So we're going to complete this bar model so that way we can solve this problem. So we know that the total number of gallons is 35. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, right? We have 7 there. So we now are going to use what kind of equation to find the amount of paint in each bucket, so that way we can solve for G. I hope you said it's a division equation to solve for G. Right? Actually, our G goes in here. We don't know, right? This is our unknown. These are our G's. They would all be the same, right? They would all be the same unknown. the same number. So that's why we would use the same number in there. So how are we going to write our division problem? Well, we're going to start with our 35, right? We know we've got the paint in all the buckets is 35 gallons. Oops, sorry, I'm down too far. We know how many buckets we have. We have 7 buckets. So 35 divided by 7 equals G. Well, how do we find 35 divided by 7? If you, knowing your multiplication facts, right, what number times 7 equals 35? We know that 5 times 7 equals 35. So 35 divided by 7 is 5. So there are 5 gallons inside each one of those buckets. And we're actually going to skip letter G. So there are 5 gallons in each bucket. So notice we had to do 2 steps to find out how many gallons were in the buckets, right? First, we had to subtract so we could figure out how many total gallons were in all the buckets. Then we had to divide to figure out how many gallons were just in one bucket, because that was ultimately what we were trying to find, is how many gallons were just in one of the buckets. Okay? So now we're going to move to our next problem. And we have Bree, and she is painting a fence. The fence has 7 sections that are each 9 feet long and one 17-foot long section. Use steps and equations to find the total length of the fence. So first, let's figure out what is the information that we already know. She's painting a fence. The fence has 7 sections, and each of those sections are 9 feet long. And then there's one 17-foot section. And we want to find the total length of the fence. That's what we're looking for. So that's the information we know. Draw a bar model and write a multiplication equation to find the total length of the 7 same length sections of fence. So our first step, first of all, we're not going to worry about the 17 yet, because we need to figure out, well, how long are these 7 sections altogether, right? I know I've got 7 sections and each is 9 foot long. So I need to multiply. So I'm going to draw my bar model. It has 7 sections, right? So I need to break it up into 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And each one is 9 feet long. And we don't know the total, right? We don't know how long just that part is. We need to find out just that part before we can find out the total. So the number of sections there are 7 sections. And this one we want to multiply, because if we have 7 sections and each is 9 feet long, we're going to need to multiply 7 times 9. And our total of just those 7 sections is our S. 7 times 9 equals, I hope you're good with those multiplication facts, 7 times 9 equals 63. And 63 feet. But are we done? No, we're not done. We still have another 17-foot long section that we've got to put in there. This is just the 7 sections that are 9 feet long each. So now we've got to use this part to help us answer the next part. So this time we need to do an addition, because we need to take our 63 feet and add it to our 17 feet. So our bar model is 2 pieces, right? We've got 63 feet. We have 17 feet, and I got that 17 from the problem, right? That was another section of fence. And we're going to need to add those together, and we're going to use the F for our unknown. We don't know how long the fence is yet. So this time I need to put these two together, so I need to add them. So the length of the 7 sections is 63. The length of the extra section is 17. So I'm going to add 63 plus 17. 3 plus 7 is 10. Regroup my 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. Plus 1 is 8. So the whole length of the fence is 80 feet. 80 feet long is the length of the fence. Okay? So we're going to go to the check for understanding, and then we will do the on your own on the next video. So there isn't a lot of room, so you may need a separate sheet of paper to do some of the work, okay? So Mike buys 7 packs of erasers. Each pack has 4 erasers. He also has 5 loose erasers. How many erasers does he have now? Write 2 equations with letters for the unknowns and solve. So what information do we know? There are 7 packs. Each pack has 4 erasers. He also has 5 loose erasers. That means they're not in a pack. How many erasers does he have now? Write 2 equations with letters for the unknowns and solve. So the first step that we need to solve is we need to figure out how many total erasers are in the packs, right? How many erasers does he have that are already packaged up? So we have our 7 packs, and each one has 4 erasers. So this pack has 4, 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 and this pack has 4. There's our 7 packs. So what does that tell me I need to do? If each pack has 4 erasers, I need to multiply. So my first step is to take these 2 and multiply. So 7 times 4 equals, and what would our unknown be? Let's use the letter E for erasers. Oh, actually, no, let's use the letter P for packs. Sorry, because we'll want E for erasers for the second part. P for packs. What is 7 times 4? Well, 7 times 4 is, so our P equals 7 times 4 is 28. So I have 28 packs of erasers, right, or 28 erasers that are in packages. And then I have 5 loose erasers. So how many total erasers do I have? I'm going to need to take my 28 and add it to my 5, which is going to equal my total number of erasers. So 28 plus 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. Regroup my 1 plus 2 is 3. So E equals 33 erasers. So there are a total of 33 erasers that Mike has. Okay? All right, so I'm going to stop there. The next video will be the on your own section, okay? So I just wanted us to do the beginning part because this is a lot of work to do, a lot of steps, okay? So take a break, and if you need to, you can come back the next day or another day to do the second part. Just make sure it's all done within this week. All right, I will see you soon. Bye.